A few weeks ago, I did a video on the ETF CAGE, and that video did really well. But it also created a bit of a problem for me. I was already in the middle of making changes to my own portfolio. I was cutting back on some of the covered calls, working through some of that overlap you guys told me about, and trying to get my exposure more balanced globally. And then CAGE showed up, and it forced a real decision. Do I keep building what I already have? Or do I simplify everything and move it into something like CAGE? So I went back through my entire portfolio position by position to figure out what actually made sense. And here's the thing, I'm 95% of the way to my retirement goal that I set 3 years ago, and I still have 7 years left before I retire. So the decisions that I make right now, they really matter. And this month, I made some pretty big ones. Now, this month wasn't just a normal update. It forced me to decide whether I should stick with my plan or change everything completely. So as we go through this, the numbers, the accounts, the changes that I made, I want you to watch one thing: how having a plan changes the decisions that you make when things are feeling uncertain. My name is Darren. I'm just a regular Canadian who started investing at 50, and I'm proving every single day that it's never too late to build wealth. And in this series, this is where I show you guys exactly how that's going. So as of right now, the portfolio is sitting at about $525,000. That puts me at about 95% of the way to my goal of $554,000, which I set 3 years ago. At this pace, I'm going to achieve that far faster than I would when I retire 7 years from now. But here's the part that really matters. This month alone, I added $5,742, and that is the reason this is working. Not because I picked the perfect ETF, not because I timed the market, but because I'm consistently adding money and saving. Because even with about 7 years to go, I don't have 20 or 30 years to compound this money. So with what's left, I want it to compound the best it can. And the more I can put in now, the more that money will have a chance to grow. So yeah, what you invest in matters, but how much you invest, that's what really moves things. And if you're starting a lot earlier than I did, you don't have to push as hard. You don't have to put as much in as I'm doing. So let's talk about the dividends. So in the middle of the month, I was sitting at about $928, but the last dividends flowed in here at the last day, and we're up to $1,100 for the month. Now, if we rewind here and look at the last year, the portfolio's generated $17,000 in dividends for the year. That's roughly $1,400 a month on average. So the dividends continue to build over time, but this is also where things really start to shift, and this is where that decision around CAGE really starts to show up. So this month, I made a series of changes across the portfolio. I sold positions like USCL, HHIS, REI, QQCL, and YTSL. And this wasn't random. This was very intentional. And all of this was happening with the CAGE idea still sitting in the back of my mind, wondering if I should just simply sell everything and put it in CAGE. There were really three things that I was trying to accomplish by selling these positions. First, I had way too much exposure to the US. Second, I had a lot of overlap, and to be fair, that's something that you guys have been pointing out for quite a while. But it also pushed me to build out my own spreadsheet just to really understand what I actually hold and where that overlap is. And third, those covered call ETFs. They just weren't fitting my strategy anymore. And that's where it started to get interesting, because fixing these things was almost pushing me towards something like CAGE. Now, don't get me wrong here. These ETFs, especially the covered calls, they do produce some income. But over time, I started to question what I was giving up to get that income. And this is where I had to decide, do I keep fixing what I already have, or just reset everything and move it into CAGE? So I made the decision to reduce those positions, simplify the portfolio, and bring those covered calls down to about 10% from 20% where they are. And yep, that likely means that my income is going to go down a bit. But the trade-off here is better long-term growth and a portfolio that actually matches my timeline. Now, I always like to show these next three accounts because this is where the strategy really shows up over time. And the reason that I keep showing these is because I'm consistently adding to them. And that's what's driving everything forward, starting with the spousal RRSP. This is where I continue to contribute regularly. The strategy here is pretty simple. It's about reducing the amount of income that gets taxed at your highest tax bracket now. So instead of paying that higher rate today, that income gets deferred. Recently, I found a CRA tool where you can plug in your income and your province and actually see how your income gets taxed across each bracket. It really puts things into perspective because what this strategy is doing is shifting income from a higher tax bracket today to a lower tax bracket in retirement. The link is in the video description below. So you save on taxes now and you give that money more of a time to compound. Now for the TFSA. This one is a milestone for me. So I crossed the $100,000 mark and I only have about $25,000 of room left. And at this pace, this should be fully maxed out by the end of the year. Actually, it might even be a lot sooner than that. And this one was one of the main reasons that I started this journey. I wanted to max this account out as quickly as possible because it's one of the most powerful tools Canadians have to build wealth. And if you think about it, I'm going to max this account out in about 3.5 to 4 years. And I started at 50. So if I can do this, anybody can do this. And then there's the emergency fund. This is where we made one of the biggest changes this month. This is the experiment that I was running with the emergency fund. I removed HHIS and USCL and replaced it with HDIV while keeping HYLD. And one of the main reasons that I did this was concentration. HHIS is heavily concentrated in 20 positions. And while it produces income, that concentration creates volatility. And for an emergency fund, that's a problem because if the market drops and I need that money, I may have to sell at a loss. That's exactly what this experiment has showed me. Right now, it's sitting around 11,300, so we're slightly up, but that can change quite quickly, and that's definitely not something that you want in an emergency fund. So this change was about making it more stable and more aligned with what this account is supposed to do. And honestly, it really reinforced some pretty simple things. You still need to have cash on the side. So overall, everything is still moving forward in the right direction. It's much cleaner, more intentional, and a lot more aligned with where I'm going. And when I step back and I look at everything this month, I didn't need to switch to CAGE because I already had most of what it's trying to do built into the portfolio. So instead of changing everything, I refined what I already built. Now, if you like this content, I have a link in the video description below for Buy Me a Coffee. Helps me keep caffeinated while I'm staying up late and editing some of these videos. So at the end of all of this month wasn't about chasing returns. It was about control. Controlling my contributions, controlling my savings rate, controlling my portfolio, and making sure everything lines up with where I'm going. And if you're still thinking about CAGE or you still want to understand it a bit better, you should watch this video right here because I break it down step by step and compare it to XEQT, which is one of the funds that I hold and will be sticking with.